The Clone War had devastated the galaxy for 3 interminable years, transforming peace knights into warriors hardened by combat. Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi were returning victorious from yet another impossible mission, having rescued Chancellor Palpatine from the cybernetic claws of General Grievous. At the Jedi Temple, Yoda was meditating in the early morning hours when a massive disturbance crossed through the Force like a shockwave. His ears rose abruptly and his ancient eyes opened, revealing a depth of concern rarely seen. Several other Jedi scattered across the galaxy had reported similar sensations through urgent communications. There was an emerging pattern, something that suggested it was not just a localized disturbance, but a fundamental change in the very structure of the Force. Perhaps the Sith are planning something greater than we imagined, Mace suggested, his hand instinctively resting on his lightsaber. But Yoda did not seem convinced. From the dark side this does not come, he repeated firmly. Familiar, this energy is, like echoes from a past that should not be able to return. The other masters waited in silence, respecting the accumulated wisdom of 900 years of experience of the small master. When Obi-Wan and Anakin finally arrived at the temple, they were immediately summoned to the council chamber. Anakin was impatient, wanting to see Padme after weeks away, but reluctantly obeyed. The room was filled with masters, all with grave expressions that indicated the seriousness of the situation. Obi-Wan, Yoda began, his ears moving thoughtfully, feel a presence. You have? During your journey, something unusual noticed? Obi-Wan nodded slowly. Yes, Master Yoda. Throughout the entire return trip, I felt as if someone was trying to reach me through the Force. It was not threatening, but persistent, almost urgent. Anakin frowned. I felt nothing, he said with a touch of defensiveness. Perhaps it is just battle fatigue. As night fell over Coruscant, the members of the Jedi Council gathered in the temple's deepest meditation chamber. The environment was austere but serene, with Force crystals embedded in the walls that pulsed softly with bluish light. The masters formed a perfect circle, each assuming their traditional meditation position. Obi-Wan sat between Yoda and Mace Windu, closing his eyes and allowing his breathing to calm. Anakin was on the other side of the circle, restless and clearly uncomfortable, but forcing himself to participate. For long minutes, only silence filled the room, occasionally broken by the distant sound of air traffic outside. Then, gradually, the temperature began to drop, a subtle but unmistakable change that made everyone present open their eyes simultaneously. A bluish light began to form in the center of the circle, pulsing and growing in intensity until it took a recognizable form. The spectral form that materialized was unmistakable to those who had known him in life. Qui-Gon Jinn stood before them, not as a physical being, but as a pure manifestation through the Force. His appearance was translucent, glowing with a serene luminosity that seemed to emanate peace and purpose. Obi-Wan felt his heart stop for a moment, memories of Naboo flooding his mind, the pain of losing his master returning with surprising force. Master, he whispered, his voice barely audible. Tears threatened to fall, but he held them back, maintaining the composure of a Jedi master. Anakin stared at the apparition, vaguely recognizing the man who had freed him from Tatooine and insisted on his training, even against the Council's will. The room was completely silent, everyone processing the impossible they were witnessing. My former Padawan, Qui-Gon spoke, his voice echoing strangely, as if coming from all directions at once. And masters of the Council, forgive this intrusion, but extraordinary circumstances require extraordinary measures. Mace Windu rose abruptly, his skepticism evident. How do we know you are truly Qui-Gon Jinn and not some Sith trick? The dark side has grown tremendously, obscuring our visions. Qui-Gon turned to him with an understanding smile. Your caution is wise, Master Windu. It has always been one of your greatest strengths. I remember when you questioned my choice to train Obi-Wan, saying I was too impulsive. And you were right, I was. But that same impulsiveness led me to find Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one. Obi-Wan confirmed with a nod. It is truly him, Master Windu. I recognize his presence in the Force as clearly as the day he departed. True, he is, Yoda finally declared, his voice carrying absolute authority. Through the Force, feel I can. Not corrupted by darkness, clean and pure remains. But how possible this is, old friend? Dead you were 13 years ago on Naboo. Qui-Gon floated closer to the circle, his form passing through physical objects without resistance. I discovered an ancient path, Master Yoda. A technique forgotten by modern Jedi, lost when the Order became too focused on the physical aspect of existence. Through years of studying the living Force, I learned to preserve my consciousness beyond physical death. It is not immortality as you understand it, but a transformation, becoming part of the Force itself while maintaining my identity. Plo Koon leaned forward, fascinated. Such knowledge would be invaluable to the Order. Could you teach us? Qui-Gon shook his head gently. In time, perhaps, but I did not come here to teach this technique. I came because I sense a great disturbance in the Force, a darkness that threatens to consume everything. The Sith are closer to victory than any of you realize. Ki-Adi-Mundi spoke. Dooku has been eliminated, and we are actively pursuing Grievous. Surely we are winning this war. Qui-Gon's expression became somber. You are only seeing the pieces the true enemy wants you to see. The Sith Lord who controls everything remains hidden, manipulating events from a position of uncontested power. And most disturbing is that he is very close to you. So close that you look at him daily without seeing what he truly is. Anakin, who had remained silent until then, finally spoke. What are you talking about? Who is this Sith Lord? Qui-Gon looked directly at Anakin, and in that gaze there was deep compassion and sadness. Young Skywalker, you have grown tremendously since that boy I met on Tatooine. Your power is immense, as I always knew it would be. But power without wisdom is a blade without a handle, dangerous to whoever wields it. There are forces working to corrupt you, to transform your strength into a weapon of destruction. Anakin stiffened, defensiveness coloring his voice. No one is corrupting me. I know how to distinguish right from wrong. Obi-Wan placed a reassuring hand on his former apprentice's arm. Listen to what he has to say, Anakin. Qui-Gon would not make this appearance without grave reason. The spirit continued. I did not come to accuse, only to warn. The disturbance I sense is centered around you, Anakin. You are the pivot upon which the fate of the galaxy balances. Yoda struck his staff on the floor, calling everyone's attention. Careful we must be. The chosen one, Anakin, is. Bring balance to the Force he must. But which path he will take, uncertain remains. Qui-Gon nodded gravely. Exactly, Master Yoda. The prophecy is real, but the balance will not come the way we expect. It is not about destroying one side in favor of the other, but about something deeper. Mace Windu crossed his arms. You are speaking in riddles. If there is a specific danger, tell us clearly so we can act. Qui-Gon's spectral form began to waver slightly. My time is limited. Maintaining this manifestation requires immense energy. But hear this, pay attention to Anakin, for he is the chosen one and is at the center of the approaching storm. Observe those he trusts, question the motivations of those who offer easy power. And above all, remember that love is not weakness, but attachment to outcome can destroy even the strongest. With these final words, Qui-Gon's form began to disappear, the bluish light gradually diminishing until only a sensation of warmth remained. He will return, Yoda said calmly. When we need him again, return he can. The council remained silent for long moments, each master processing what they had witnessed and heard. Anakin was particularly disturbed, Qui-Gon's words echoing in his mind. Why me? Why always me? He thought bitterly. Obi-Wan noticed his former apprentice's agitation and decided he needed to speak with him privately. But before he could act, Mace Windu declared that the council needed to discuss the implications of this revelation. Anakin was dismissed, free to finally go home to Padme, to the arms that offered comfort that the temple never could. As he left, Obi-Wan watched with concern, sensing that something fundamental was about to change. The next day, Palpatine summoned Anakin for a private meeting in his office. The Chancellor looked tired, the weight of the war evident in his features, but his eyes gleamed with interest when Anakin entered. "My young friend, please sit. There is much I would like to discuss with you." Anakin obeyed, immediately feeling more comfortable here than in the council's formal meetings. Palpatine served wine for both of them, a gesture of camaraderie that the Jedi would never offer. "I heard interesting rumors about events at the Jedi Temple last night," Palpatine began casually. "Something about a manifestation through the Force?" Anakin hesitated. "I don't know if I should discuss internal order matters, Chancellor." Palpatine smiled understandingly. Of course. Your loyalty is admirable. But you know you can trust me, Anakin. I have always had your best interests in mind." Anakin found himself telling about Qui-Gon, about the vague warnings and the sensation of being watched. Palpatine listened attentively, his expressions shifting from interest to calculated concern. "Fascinating," he murmured when Anakin finished. "And concerning as well. The Jedi are playing with forces they do not fully understand. This manifestation, are you certain it was not a trick? Perhaps even from the Jedi themselves to manipulate you?" Anakin frowned. "Why would they do that?" Palpatine leaned forward, his voice lowering to a conspiratorial tone. "My young friend, the Council has always seen you as much a threat as a blessing. Your power frightens them. They want to control you, keep you in a box where you cannot challenge them." Anakin felt the familiar frustration growing. "I know they don't fully trust me. They didn't even name me master when I clearly deserved it." "Exactly," Palpatine agreed, his voice smooth as silk. "They underestimate you, limit your potential out of fear. But I see you clearly, Anakin. I see what you can become, the immense good you could do if you were not constrained by their archaic rules." Anakin looked at the Chancellor, feeling validation he rarely received. "There is something else that concerns me," he admitted, his voice almost a whisper. "I have been having dreams, visions of Padme dying. I cannot help but feel it is about to happen." Palpatine assumed an expression of deep concern. "Your wife? Yes, I knew about you too. I am observant, my young friend. And these dreams, visions of the future often are. You must be terrified." Anakin's voice broke slightly. "Cannot lose her, Chancellor. She is everything to me. Without her, I would be nothing." Palpatine stood and walked to the window, his hands clasped behind his back. "There is knowledge in the galaxy that the Jedi consider unnatural," he said slowly. "Ways to manipulate life itself, to prevent the death of those we love. But the Jedi, in their arrogance, have rejected such studies." Anakin stood as well, hope igniting in his chest. "You know these methods? Can you teach me?" Palpatine turned to him. "It is not Jedi knowledge. I must warn you. Comes from other sources. But if you were willing to keep an open mind, to question the rigid dogmas of your order, perhaps we could explore possibilities together." Before Anakin could respond, his communicator beeped. It was Obi-Wan, urgently summoning him back to the temple. Palpatine smiled. "Go, my young friend, but think about what we discussed. There is always more than one path to any goal." When Anakin arrived at the temple, he found the council assembled again, this time with news about General Grievous' location on Utapau. Obi-Wan would be sent to deal with the separatist leader. Anakin asked to accompany him, but Mace Windu firmly denied. "You will remain on Coruscant, reporting on the Chancellor's movements." Anakin was indignant. "Are you asking me to spy on the leader of the Republic?" Mace crossed his arms. "We are asking you to observe. There are concerns about how Palpatine is handling his emergency powers." Anakin felt anger rising. "You trust no one, not even the man who is fighting to save the Republic." Yoda intervened calmly. "Understand your frustration, we do, young Skywalker, but necessary this is. Please do this you can." For a moment, Anakin considered refusing, but finally he nodded stiffly, leaving the room without another word. Obi-Wan caught up with him in the corridor, grasping his shoulder. "Be careful, my old friend. I know this is difficult, but trust us." Obi-Wan departed for Utapau the following morning, leaving Anakin increasingly isolated and confused on Coruscant. The following days were torturous for the young Jedi, divided between his conflicting loyalties and tormented by increasingly vivid visions of Padme's death. He spent hours staring at the city planet's horizon, feeling trapped between two worlds and truly belonging to neither. Padme tried to console him, but even her presence could not completely dispel the darkness accumulating in his soul. One night, he was on the balcony of his apartment when he felt that familiar presence again. He turned and saw Qui-Gon Jinn's spectral form materializing behind him, glowing softly in the darkness. "You returned," Anakin said simply, without surprise this time. "I came because time is running out, Anakin Skywalker," Qui-Gon replied gravely. "The disturbance I sensed has grown exponentially. You are in great danger, not physical but spiritual. There are forces working to divert you from your true path." Anakin crossed his arms defensively. "Why does everyone keep saying this? Why doesn't anyone simply tell me clearly what I should do?" Qui-Gon floated closer, his expression compassionate. "Because the path is yours to choose, not ours to dictate. But I can offer perspective. The visions that torment you about Padme, they are possibilities, not certainties. And paradoxically, your own fear of losing her may be exactly what causes her death." Anakin felt frustration explode. "Then what should I do? Just accept that she might die? What kind of husband, what kind of man would that make me?" Qui-Gon sighed. "A wise man who understands that grasping too tightly to anything eventually crushes it. True love is not possession, Anakin. It is freedom, trust, and acceptance. Padme is strong, stronger than you give her credit for. And the Force has its own plans, plans we cannot always understand or control." Anakin shook his head vehemently. "I do not accept that. There must be a way to save her, some power or knowledge that can guarantee her safety." Qui-Gon's expression became even more grave. "And if someone offered such power, what price would you be willing to pay? What line would you cross to obtain it?" Anakin hesitated, realizing he was talking about more than hypotheticals. "Do you know something specific?" "I know there are those who will offer easy solutions to difficult problems," Qui-Gon replied carefully, "who promise power over life and death. But such power always comes with a cost that can consume your very humanity. Remember, Anakin, who you are. You are the chosen one, destined to bring balance. But balance does not come through domination or control. It comes through harmony, acceptance, and sacrifice." Qui-Gon's form began to waver again. "I must depart, but I leave you with this final thought. Observe Chancellor Palpatine carefully. Not all that shines is light, and not all shadows contain darkness. Sometimes, the greatest darkness hides where the light seems brightest." With these enigmatic words, he disappeared. At the Jedi Temple, Yoda sensed Qui-Gon's second manifestation and meditated deeply on its meaning. Mace Windu came to visit him, concern marking his features. "You sensed it too?" Yoda nodded. "Warn Anakin directly," Qui-Gon tried. "Closer to the edge, young Skywalker is than we realized. Act we must before too late it is." Mace sat heavily. "But do what? We cannot force him to see what he does not want to see. And without concrete proof about Palpatine, our hands are tied." Yoda struck his staff on the floor. "Plan we need. If something goes wrong, if losing Anakin to darkness seems imminent, intervene we must decisively." Mace leaned forward. "What are you suggesting?" Yoda's expression was somber. "Prepare a contingency, we must. Someone must be ready to act, to remove Anakin from Coruscant if necessary, to take him where Palpatine's influence cannot reach." "But who?" Mace asked. "Obi-Wan is the obvious choice, but he is on Utapau." Yoda considered. "Plo Koon, reliable is. One of them in the council chamber remain must, watching through the Force. If Anakin falls, if darkness claims him, immediately act we must." Mace nodded slowly. "It is a desperate plan, but we are in desperate times. I will instruct Plo Koon. He is wise and compassionate, qualities that Anakin will need if we reach that point." Yoda closed his eyes. "Hope there still is. But prepared for the worst we must be. The Force is in great turmoil, and the darkness grows stronger each day. A storm is approaching, Mace Windu. A storm like the galaxy has not seen in 1,000 years. And at its center, young Skywalker is balanced on a knife's edge." The two masters remained in silence for a long moment, both feeling the weight of what was to come. both hoping their precautions would prove unnecessary, but deeply fearing they would not be. News arrived from Utapau. Obi-Wan had found and was confronting General Grievous. Anakin felt even more isolated, knowing his former master was in battle while he remained trapped on Coruscant, fulfilling espionage orders he detested. Palpatine summoned him for an urgent meeting, and Anakin went immediately, anxious for any distraction from his dark thoughts. "Anakin, my young friend, please enter. There is something of extreme importance I need to share with you. Do you know the story of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?" Anakin felt his heart race. Could he really save people from death? Palpatine turned to face him completely. The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. Is it possible to learn this power? Anakin asked, his voice laden with desperate hope. Palpatine responded with a sinister smile. "Not from a Jedi." The realization struck Anakin like lightning. "You are a Sith Lord." Palpatine did not deny it, his eyes gleaming with revealed dark power. "I know the ways of the Force, Anakin. All of them, and only I can teach you what you need to save Padme." Anakin ignited his lightsaber, the blue blade illuminating the office. "You are under arrest, Chancellor. Your treachery is over." At the Jedi Temple, Mace Windu felt a massive disturbance. His eyes opened abruptly. "Master Yoda, it is now. Anakin is on the precipice." Yoda responded instantly. "Go, you must, Master Windu. Bring Anakin back before he falls beyond salvation. Run, for every second counts." Mace Windu burst from his quarters, racing through the corridors with other masters converging from all directions, all sensing the cosmic urgency of the moment. Anakin left Sidious's office in panic, his mind spinning in agonizing conflict. He ran through the Senate corridors when he nearly collided with Mace Windu. "Anakin," Mace called firmly, "we know what happened. We sensed it through the Force." Palpatine revealed his true nature? Anakin nodded, unable to speak. "He is Sidious." It was then that Qui-Gon Jinn manifested for the third and final time, his form glowing intensely between them. "Anakin Skywalker, this is the moment that will define the fate of the galaxy. You are correct that Sidious possesses knowledge about life and death, but he omitted that such power requires sacrificing innocent lives, draining the life force of others to sustain those you love. Would you feed Padme with the deaths of innocence? Would you transform your pure love into something stained with blood?" Anakin recoiled in horror. "No, he did not tell me that." Qui-Gon continued, "And your visions of Padme dying will only become reality if you fall to darkness. It will be your own rage, your transformation into a monster consumed by hatred, that will kill her with your own hands." Anakin fell to his knees, sobbing. "Then there is no hope?" Qui-Gon knelt before him. "There is always hope, but it requires faith. Faith in the Force, in those who love you, and in yourself." Mace Windu placed a hand on Anakin's shoulder, a gesture he rarely made. "Anakin, the Council was arrogant. I was arrogant. We did not trust you as we should have, did not listen to your concerns. But it is not too late to do what is right. Help us stop Sidious, and I swear we will do everything in our power to protect Padme without sacrificing your soul or hers." Anakin looked up, meeting Mace's eyes. "Will you truly help me? Give me your word?" Mace nodded solemnly. "I have been unfair to you, Anakin." The two then turned as one and ran back to Palpatine's office. When they burst through the door, Sidious was waiting calmly in the center of the room, his red saber already ignited and glowing sinister in the gloom. "Ah, you brought friends, Anakin? What profound disappointment. I thought you were stronger, more decisive than this." Anakin ignited his blue saber, positioning himself beside Mace. "I am stronger precisely because I am not alone. That is a lesson you never learned, Sidious, isolated in your tower of lies and manipulation." Sidious roared in rage and attacked with speed that defied his aged appearance, moving like a demon. Force lightning emanated from Sidious in devastating waves, forcing the Jedi to dodge and block constantly as the office transformed into a war zone. Anakin closed his eyes in the middle of the chaotic battle, an apparently suicidal move, but he trusted his companions completely to protect him. He reached deep within himself, beyond the fear that tormented him, beyond the rage that always simmered beneath the surface, to a place of crystalline and perfect calm. His eyes opened glowing with pure golden light, power flowing through him in ways he had never experienced. He advanced like a storm of light, his saber moving not with rehearsed technique but with pure and absolute instinct, guided by the very will of the Force. Each brutal strike from Sidious was blocked with impossible ease, each lightning blast deflected back to its malignant source. Impossible, Sidious hissed, retreating for the first time in decades, genuine fear coloring his voice. You cannot be doing this. No Jedi possesses such power. Anakin pressed his attack relentlessly. Sidious launched one last absolutely desperate attack, Force lightning exploding in all directions like a supernova. Mace Windu raised both hands, using Vapad to create a barrier that absorbed and redirected the dark energy. He circled with mortal precision, his green blade finding Sidious's leg and making the Sith Lord stagger. And Anakin, moving with perfect clarity and purpose, disarmed Sidious with a single devastatingly precise strike. The red saber flew across the room, embedding itself in the distant wall. Sidious fell to his knees, finally defeated but still alive, still dangerous. Kill me then, he hissed with venomous hatred. Complete what you began and prove you are exactly like me. Anakin deactivated his saber, his breathing heavy but controlled. No, you will face proper trial. The entire galaxy will see what you truly are, and true justice will be served through democratic means. Qui-Gon appeared one last time, his form now very weak and trembling, almost transparent. Well done, young Skywalker. You have truly begun to fulfill your destiny as the Chosen One. But always remember, this is only the beginning of a long journey. The galaxy will need decades of healing after this war, and you will be an absolutely essential part of that restoration process. Anakin nodded with deep gratitude. Thank you, Master Qui-Gon, for believing in me from the beginning, even when I did not believe in myself. Qui-Gon smiled serenely before disappearing. I always believed, from the moment I saw you on Tatooine. With Sidious imprisoned and publicly tried, the Clone War ended abruptly. Anakin ran home to Padme, telling her everything. She embraced him, crying with relief. Months later, when Luke and Leia were born healthy and perfect, Anakin held them feeling complete peace for the first time in his entire life. The visions were wrong, he murmured in wonder. Padme smiled radiantly. Or you made them wrong by choosing the right path. The Republic was carefully reformed, the Jedi humbly reevaluated their rigid practices, and Anakin perfectly balanced being a Jedi husband and father. Qui-Gon appeared occasionally as a wise guide when most needed. He had prevented darkness from consuming the Chosen One at the most critical moment, allowing Anakin to fulfill his true destiny of bringing genuine balance to the Force and saving the galaxy from decades of dark tyranny under a cruel empire.